20 years had passed since the New Jeju massacre. The galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. The Krell Empire was gone, replaced by the Krell Commonwealth, a peaceful federation of worlds that traded with their neighbors instead of conquering them. Warmaster Thrax had died in prison after 18 years, an old Krell who never showed remorse for his crimes. His death was noted but not mourned. The galaxy had moved on. Minho stood at the window of his office on Apex Prime Station. He was 32 years old now, a man who had grown up in the shadow of war. He had become Ambassador Minho, representing humanity at the Galactic Council. His hair was starting to gray at the temples, though he was still young by human standards. Today he had to give a speech at the Galactic Defense Institute. Young military officers from dozens of species were graduating, and he had been invited to address them. It was an honor, though he felt nervous about it. The institute was enormous, built on a small moon orbiting Apex Prime. Thousands of cadets from across the galaxy trained there, learning military tactics and diplomacy. Among them was a young Krell named Raxic, who had specifically asked to meet Minho. They met in a quiet garden before the ceremony. Raxic was young, barely 20, with bright green scales that had not yet dulled with age. He looked nervous. "Ambassador Minho," Raxic said, bowing respectfully. "Thank you for meeting with me." "I wanted to apologize." Minho was surprised. "Apologize? For what?" "For what my people did to yours," Raxic said. "I was born after the war, but I studied it in school. I read about New Jeju. I read about what Warmaster Thrax did. It shames me." Minho studied the young Krell carefully. He saw genuine regret in those yellow eyes, not the defiance that Thrax had shown. This was a different generation. "You are not responsible for what happened before you were born," Minho said gently. "You only control your own choices. What matters is what you do now." "I chose to join the peacekeeping forces," Raxic replied. "I want to help prevent wars, not start them." Many young Krell feel the same way. We learn from our elders' mistakes. Minho felt something loosen in his chest, a tension he had carried for 20 years. That is good. That is how we build a better future. The graduation ceremony was held in a vast amphitheater. Thousands of cadets sat in neat rows, wearing the gray uniforms of the Galactic Defense Institute. Officers from every major species attended, along with ambassadors and counselors. Minho walked to the podium and looked out at the sea of faces. Some were human. Many were not. All of them were young, barely adults preparing to serve their species in whatever capacity they chose. "I am going to tell you a story," Minho began. "It is not a pleasant story, but it is an important one." He told them about New Jeju. He told them about being 12 years old and watching his home burn. He told them about hiding in a cave while soldiers destroyed everything he loved. He told them about the silence that followed, the empty feeling of loss that seemed like it would never end. The amphitheater was completely quiet. Even the seasoned officers listened intently. 3.9 million humans died that day, Minho continued. Warmaster Thrax thought he was showing strength. He thought he was teaching us to fear the Krell. Instead, he taught the galaxy something different. He paused, gathering his thoughts. He taught everyone what happens when you attack humans. Not because we are stronger than everyone else, not because we have better weapons, but because we do not forget. We do not forgive crimes, and we do not stop until justice is done. A Krell cadet in the front row looked uncomfortable. Minho caught his eye and continued. "But here is the important part. When we hunted the Krell, we could have destroyed their entire species. We had the power to do it. Instead, we only pursued those who made the choice to attack us. We only dismantled their military. We gave their civilians peace and protection. Do you understand what that means?" He looked around the amphitheater. "It means humans are not monsters. We are not conquerors. We are just people who refuse to let violence go unanswered. If you leave us in peace, we will be your friends, your trading partners, your allies. But if you attack us, if you harm our families, we will find you. That is not a threat. It is simply who we are." The cadets absorbed his words. Some nodded. Others looked thoughtful. "Learn from the Krell's mistake," Minho said. "Do not underestimate anyone based on how they look or act. Do not assume peaceful people are weak. And most importantly, do not start fights you are not prepared to finish, because some species will never stop fighting back." He stepped away from the podium to respectful silence, then scattered applause that grew into a standing ovation. Not just the human cadets, all of them. After the ceremony, Minho visited the memorial gardens on Apex Prime. A section was dedicated to New Jeju, with walls listing every name of the dead. He came here often, though it never got easier. Dr. Su-Yan found him there. She was a xenocultural studies professor who had written extensively about the war and its aftermath. She was in her 50s with kind eyes and graying hair. "Your speech was good," she said, standing beside him. "Honest." "I hope it helps," Minho replied. "I hope they learn." "They will," Su-Yan assured him. "I teach young officers every year. They all study the Krell War now. It is required curriculum. Do not attack humans is taught in every military academy across civilized space." Minho smiled slightly. "Strange, is it not? We did not want to be feared. We just wanted to live in peace. But fear prevents war sometimes," Su-Yan said. "The galaxy knows that attacking humans has consequences. That knowledge has prevented conflicts. I have documented at least 7 potential wars that did not happen because the aggressor species remembered what happened to the Krell." She gestured to the memorial. "These people did not die for nothing. Their deaths taught the galaxy a lesson. It is a terrible price, but the lesson has saved lives." On Earth, retired Admiral Hyun-sik taught at the Human Fleet Academy. He was 63 now, with white hair and a slight limp from an old injury. His students loved him because he told real stories instead of just repeating textbook tactics. Today's lecture was about persistence. "Humans are not the fastest species," he told his class. "We are not the strongest. Our technology is good but not the best, so why are we so effective in war?" A young cadet raised her hand. "Because we do not give up, sir." "Exactly," Hyun-sik confirmed. "Our ancestors on Earth were persistence hunters. They would track prey for days, following it until it collapsed from exhaustion. That instinct is still in us. When we commit to something, we finish it. That is our greatest strength and our most dangerous quality." He brought up a hologram showing the pursuit of the Krell. "We chased them for 2 years, 3 months, and 17 days. Some people thought we should stop after 6 months. Others said a year was enough. But we kept going until every single military target was found." "Why?" another cadet answered. "Because stopping would have told other species that they could attack us and escape if they ran far enough." "Right again," Hyun-sik said. "We established a precedent. Attack humans and we will find you, no matter how long it takes. No matter where you hide. That precedent has kept the peace for 20 years. Ambassador Jiwoo, now leading the Galactic Council's Conflict Resolution Committee, sat in her office reviewing reports. She was in her late 60s but still sharp and active. Her hair was silver but her eyes missed nothing. A minor empire called the Dax Confederation was considering military expansion into disputed territory near human space. They had sent a delegation to meet with her, clearly testing whether humans would respond. The Dax ambassador was a tall, bird-like creature with blue feathers. He spoke carefully. "Our people need resources. The disputed territories have valuable minerals." "Then negotiate with the current inhabitants," Jiwoo replied calmly. "Trade with them. Establish agreements. We will even help mediate if needed." "And if we choose to simply take the territories?" the Dax ambassador asked, trying to sound confident. Jiwoo set down her tablet and looked directly at him. Her expression was pleasant, but her voice was firm. "Then you should study what happened to the Krell. We have extensive documentation available. I particularly recommend reading about how long we pursued them." The Dax ambassador's feathers ruffled nervously. "That was 20 years ago." "Yes," Jiwoo agreed. "And we still have the same fleets, the same determination, the same very long memory. Time does not change who we are." She leaned forward slightly. "Ambassador, we do not want war. We truly do not. We would much rather help you negotiate fair trades with your neighbors. But if you attack our space, if you harm our people, you will learn the same lesson the Krell learned. We will find you. We will chase you without end." That is not anger speaking. That is simply history repeating itself. The silence in the room was heavy. "Perhaps negotiation would be wiser," the Dax ambassador said quietly. "I think so too." Jiwoo smiled. "Shall we begin?" Within the hour, peaceful talks had begun. Another war prevented. Another species that learned the lesson without having to experience it themselves. That evening, Minho stood on his balcony and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there was New Jeju, rebuilt and alive again. Somewhere out there were the old battlefields where the Krell had been hunted down. The Krell civilian government arrived at Apex Prime Station 3 weeks after Warmaster Thrax was captured. They came on an unarmed transport, flying white flags of peace on every antenna. Their leader was Veshka, an older Krell female who represented the non-military population. She looked tired and afraid. Ambassador Jiwoo met her in a neutral conference room. No guards, no weapons, just two beings trying to find a path forward. Veshka's scales were dull with stress, her movements slow. "We wish to surrender," Veshka said simply. "Warmaster Thrax acted without the consent of our civilian councils. We did not want this war. We want it to end." Jiwoo studied her carefully. Human intelligence suggested Veshka was telling the truth. The Krell military had acted independently, believing conquest would bring glory. Instead, it had brought destruction. "These are our terms," Jiwoo said, sliding a data tablet across the table. "All remaining military vessels will be surrendered to human forces. All officers who participated in the new Jeju attack will be handed over for trial. Krell Space will accept human observers for the next 50 years. Your empire will pay reparations to the survivors of New Jeju for 100 years. Veshka read the terms slowly. Her claws trembled slightly. "These terms are harsh. 3.9 million people died," Jiwoo replied. "These terms are merciful." Veshka closed her eyes. "I accept." "The civilian government accepts. We will do as you ask." "There is one more thing," Jiwoo added. "Warmaster Thrax will stand trial on New Jeju. He will face the survivors. He will answer for his crimes in front of the people he harmed." "He will never agree," Veshka said. "He does not have a choice," Jiwoo replied. The Galactic Council convened to discuss the human campaign. Many species were uncomfortable with what they had witnessed. The humans had demonstrated a capacity for sustained military action that frightened them. A delegate from a peaceful species stood to speak. The humans pursued the Krell for over 2 years. They crossed into dozens of territorial boundaries. They showed no mercy. "We are concerned about this level of aggression." Ambassador Jiwoo listened to the concerns, then stood to respond. "We did not start this war. We did not attack anyone. The Krell came to our colony and murdered millions of civilians. Women, children, elderly people who could not run. They burned them in their homes and fields." She paused, letting the words sink in. "Every species in this council has military forces. You all have weapons. You all defend yourselves. But you attack us and you wonder why we respond. You are not concerned about our aggression. You are concerned that we are effective." Vryn Elder Kalzeth rose to speak. The crystalline being's body flickered with inner light. "I spoke before this council 3 years ago. I warned Warmaster Thrax. I told him what would happen if he attacked humans. He did not listen. None of you truly believed me." The elder looked around the chamber. "Now you have seen it for yourselves. The humans hunted the Krell across the entire galaxy. They never stopped. They never forgot. They never grew tired. This is what humans do. This is who they are. Are we supposed to just accept this?" Another delegate demanded. "Are we supposed to live in fear of humanity?" Jiwoo answered firmly. "You should live in fear of attacking us. We do not threaten anyone who leaves us in peace. We trade fairly. We share knowledge freely. We help species in need. But if you come for our people, if you harm our families, we will find you. That is not a threat. It is simply the truth." The council chamber fell silent. The message was clear. On New Jeju, reconstruction had begun. The planet would never be the same, but survivors were rebuilding. They cleared the ruins and planted new crops. They built memorials for the dead. Minho was 16 now. He had grown taller, though he was still thin. His silence had finally broken after 2 years, but he spoke only when necessary. He had volunteered to testify at Thrax's trial. The trial was held in a newly built courthouse on New Jeju. Representatives from across the galaxy attended. Warmaster Thrax stood in a reinforced enclosure surrounded by guards. He looked smaller somehow, stripped of his armor and authority. The prosecution presented evidence for 3 weeks. They showed recordings of the attack. They listed the names of the dead. They brought survivors who told their stories. Then it was Minho's turn to testify. He walked to the witness stand slowly. The courtroom was completely silent. Thrax watched him with yellow eyes that showed no emotion. Minho began to read from a paper he had prepared. It was a list of names. His family members who died on New Jeju. His parents, his little sister, his grandparents, his uncles and aunts and cousins. Then he read the names of his neighbors. The family that lived next door. The people from his school. The merchants from town. The farmers from surrounding areas. He read for 3 hours. Page after page of names. The courtroom remained silent throughout. Some people wept. Others sat frozen. Thrax stared straight ahead, his expression unchanging. When Minho finished, he looked directly at the Krell War Master. You do not remember any of these names. You do not care about them. To you, they were just numbers. But every one of them was real. Every one of them mattered. He folded his papers carefully. I hope you live a very long time, War Master Thrax. I hope you live long enough to understand what you took from us. The verdict came after 2 days of deliberation. Guilty on all charges, war crimes, mass murder, crimes against sapient beings. The sentence was 50 years in prison. Under human law, even war criminals had rights. Thrax would not be executed. He would simply spend the rest of his life locked away, thinking about what he had done. Thrax showed no reaction when the sentence was read. He was led away in chains, still defiant, still believing he had only done what warriors do. Jae-sung watched from the gallery. He sat next to his surviving crew members from the Taeguk. They had all testified too, describing the battle, the desperate fight to save civilians the moment their ship fell. Is it enough? One of them asked. 50 years? Jae-sung shook his head. Nothing would be enough. But it is justice. That is all we can ask for. Ambassador Ji-woo returned to Apex Prime after the trial. She met with Admiral Hyun-sik, who had come to receive new orders. What happens now? He asked. Now we watch, Ji-woo replied. We make sure the Krell keep their word. We help them rebuild their society without their military dictatorship. We show the galaxy that we meant what we said. We are not conquerors. We are just people who refuse to let crimes go unpunished. Hyun-sik nodded. The hunt fleets are standing down. Most crews are going home. Good, Ji-woo said. Let them go home. Let them rest. They earned it. That evening, Elder Kalseth approached Ji-woo in one of the station's observation decks. The Vryn looked out at the stars, light moving slowly through its crystalline body. Your people frightened the galaxy, Kalseth said quietly. They frightened me and I already knew what humans could do. We did what was necessary, Ji-woo replied. Yes, Kalseth agreed. But necessary things can still be frightening. The galaxy sees you differently now. You are no longer the newcomers, the curious species that shares knowledge and trades fairly. You are the species that hunted the Krell to extinction as a military power. You are the species that never stops. Ji-woo was quiet for a moment. Is that a bad thing? No, Kalseth said. It is a powerful thing. Power can be used for good or evil. I believe humans will choose good. But the galaxy will always remember what you did to the Krell. They will remember that you chased them without end. Then let them remember, Ji-woo said. Let every species know we are peaceful until you give us reason not to be. Then we are unstoppable. Kalseth's body flickered with what might have been approval. That is the lesson. I just hope everyone learns it without needing to experience it themselves. Far away on a transport heading back to Earth, Minho sat by a window and looked at the stars. His journal was full now, every page covered with notes about the war, the hunt, the trial. He turned to a fresh page and wrote one sentence. They said they would find them, and they did. Humans keep their promises. Then he closed the journal and allowed himself to sleep without nightmares for the first time in 3 years. Fleet Admiral Sang-woo received the news in the middle of the night. An aide woke him with a message tablet and he read it twice to make sure he understood. Then he sat on the edge of his bed for a long moment, his hands shaking. 3.9 million people. Gone. He was 70 years old and had served in the military for 5 decades. He had seen war before, but this was different. This was not war. This was murder. By dawn, he had mobilized every fleet humanity possessed. 400 warships began moving toward their assigned positions. There would be no diplomacy, no negotiations, no warnings. The Krell had made their choice. Now humanity would make theirs. Captain Hyun-sik was promoted to admiral and given command of the hunt fleet. He was younger than most admirals, only 42, but he had a reputation for never giving up. Once he started tracking an enemy, he never stopped until he found them. Your orders are simple, Sang-woo told him. Find every Krell military asset in the galaxy. Destroy them all. Every single one? Hyunsik asked. Every single one, Sang-woo confirmed. No exceptions, no mercy. They wanted to show us strength. We will show them what it means to anger humans. Hyunsik accepted the command without hesitation. Lieutenant Yoonji joined his tactical team. She was a specialist in long-range tracking, able to read sensor data that others missed. She studied the information Dr. Bo-ra had sent before she died, learning everything about Krell ship signatures. I can track them, she told Hyunsik. Their engines leave a specific trail in subspace. If we know what to look for, we can follow them anywhere. How far can you track them? He asked. 3 star systems away, she replied. Maybe more if I refine the scanners, Hyunsik smiled. It was not a kind smile. Then we will never lose them. The Galactic Council expected humans to protest, to demand justice through proper channels. Instead, human fleets simply appeared across the galaxy and started hunting. The first Krell patrol died near the Deneb sector. 6 Krell ships were tracking a trade convoy when 3 human destroyers appeared from faster-than-light speed. The battle lasted 11 minutes. No Krell survived. A Krell supply convoy near the Helix Nebula vanished without even sending a distress signal. Human raiders had found them. A Krell fortress station in the outer dark sent a desperate call for help. By the time other Krell ships arrived, the station was empty debris and the human ships were gone. War Master Thrax watched the reports with growing concern. Human ships were everywhere. They appeared without warning, struck hard, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Where are they getting their intelligence? He demanded. How do they know where to find us? His tactical officer had no answer. The truth was simple but terrible. The humans were hunting systematically. They had divided the galaxy into sectors and were clearing each one methodically. When Thrax ordered his fleets to scatter and hide, the humans simply split into smaller hunter groups. When he tried to set ambushes, the humans detected them and struck first. When he fled to deep space, the humans followed. Yoonji proved to be better than anyone expected. She refined her tracking methods until she could detect Krell ships from 5 star systems away. Every time a Krell vessel jumped to faster-than-light speed, it left a trace. Every time they fired their engines, she could find them. We have a target, she would report. Krell destroyer heading toward the Crab Nebula. Hyunsik would dispatch a hunter group. 3 days later, that Krell destroyer would cease to exist. The pattern repeated across the galaxy. Human ships hunted in packs of 3 or 4, coordinating across vast distances. They shared information instantly. Merchant ships, civilian transports, even tourist vessels reported Krell sightings to the military. Some alien species helped too, not because they liked humans, but because watching the Krell run was satisfying. The Krell had been bullies for centuries. Now they were prey. Captain Jae-sung led special operations teams that infiltrated Krell worlds. They did not conquer these places. They did not kill civilians. They simply dismantled military infrastructure with surgical precision. Power plants that supplied Krell bases mysteriously exploded. Supply depots burned. Computer networks crashed. Krell officers began finding tracking devices on their personal ships. We cannot fight ghosts, a Krell commander complained. The humans are everywhere and nowhere. Jae-sung heard the intercepted message and allowed himself a grim smile. Good. Let them feel what it was like to be hunted. Minho lived aboard Admiral Hyun-sik's flagship now. The boy was 14 and still barely spoke. But he kept a journal, writing down every Krell ship destroyed, every base eliminated, every officer captured. The numbers grew daily. After 6 months, 73 Krell ships destroyed. After 1 year, 141 ships destroyed. After 18 months, 176 ships destroyed. The Krell Empire was bleeding. They tried to negotiate, sending messages to human space asking for talks. The humans ignored them. There was nothing to discuss. Some species in the Galactic Council grew concerned. Ambassador Jiwoo listened to their complaints during council sessions. The humans are being too aggressive, a delegate argued. This pursuit has gone on long enough. You should stop. Jiwoo looked at the delegate calmly. We gave War Master Thrax a warning. We told him exactly what would happen. He chose not to listen. Now he learns, but for how long? Another delegate asked. How long will you chase them? Until we catch every single one, Jiwoo replied. If it takes 5 years, we will chase them for 5 years. If it takes 50 years, we will chase them for 50 years. This is not anger. This is simply justice. The Vryn Elder Kalseth spoke at that session too. I tried to warn them. You all heard me. Humans do not forget. Humans do not forgive. They will hunt the Krell to the edge of the galaxy if necessary. I know. My people tried to hide from them for 4 decades. It did not work. After 2 years, the Krell military was broken. Of their original 200 warships, only 37 remained operational. Most of their conquered territories had been liberated. Their fortress stations were ruins. War Master Thrax fled to the Deep Fringe, a dangerous region of space filled with rogue planets and stellar anomalies. Most civilized species avoided the area. It was a place where ships vanished and were never found. Thrax believed he could hide there forever. The Deep Fringe was huge, filled with places to disappear. Surely the humans would not follow him there. He was wrong. Admiral Hyunsik took 3 hunt fleets into the Deep Fringe. His crew was nervous. The region was dangerous, filled with gravity wells and radiation storms. Ships had to move slowly and carefully, but Yunji could still track the Krell. It took 8 months of searching, but she found the trail. Thrax had hidden his remaining ships near a rogue planet orbiting a dying star. The hunt fleets converged on the location. They moved carefully, expecting a trap, but Thrax had no traps left. He had nothing left but his last few ships and his pride. The battle was short. The Krell ships fought desperately, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. One by one, they fell silent. Thrax's flagship was the last to fall. Instead of destroying it, Hyunsik ordered boarding teams to capture it. Jae-sung led the assault personally. They found War Master Thrax on his bridge, standing over his command console. He was wounded but still alive. He looked at the human soldiers surrounding him with his yellow eyes. "Just kill me," he said. "End it," Jae-sung shook his head. "No, you will stand trial. You will answer for what you did on New Jeju. You will face the families of the people you killed." "I am a soldier," Thrax growled. "I followed the customs of war." "You murdered civilians," Jae-sung replied quietly. "That is not war. That is crime. And criminals face justice." Thrax roared and tried to fight, but he was too wounded and too tired. The human soldiers restrained him and took him away. 2 years, 3 months, and 17 days after the attack on New Jeju, the last Krell military vessel was captured. The hunt was over, but the reckoning had just begun. The morning sun rose over New Jeju just like it had for the past 30 years. The colony world was beautiful, with green fields stretching to distant mountains. Farms dotted the landscape and small towns connected them with quiet roads. 4 million people called this place home. Governor Subin stood on her office balcony, drinking tea and watching the sunrise. She was a practical woman who had helped build this colony from nothing. Today she felt uneasy. Reports from the Galactic Council worried her. The Krell were making threats. Captain Jae-sung commanded the colony's defense forces. He had 2 small patrol ships and a few orbital defense platforms. Not much against a real military force, but enough to handle pirates or accidents. He sat in his command center, reviewing the reports Subin had sent him. "It is not enough," he told his tactical officer. "If the Krell come with real warships, we cannot stop them. The main fleet is only 3 days away," the officer replied. "We just need to hold until they arrive." Jae-sung nodded, but his stomach felt tight with worry. Dr. Bora worked in the xenobiology research station in the northern mountains. She studied alien plant life, trying to understand how different species could grow on human worlds. It was quiet work that she loved. Her lab was small but filled with samples from a dozen planets. This morning, she was cataloging a new species of moss when the alarm started. In the small farming village of Riverside, 12-year-old Minho was helping his father fix a broken irrigation pipe. His mother was inside making lunch. His little sister was at school in town. It was an ordinary day, peaceful and simple. Then the sky started burning. 3 massive Krell warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above New Jeju. They were each over a kilometer long, covered in weapons and armor. They looked like predators built only for killing. Jae-sung saw them appear on his screens. His blood went cold. "Battle stations," he shouted. "Launch both patrol ships. Activate all defensive platforms. Send emergency signal to the main fleet." He knew it would not be enough. He knew it before the first shot was fired. The Krell opened fire on the orbital defense platforms first. Brilliant beams of energy lanced down from space, and the platforms exploded one by one. Jae-sung's 2 patrol ships, the Taeguk and the Baekdu, raced up from the surface to meet the enemy. They fought bravely. They fired every weapon they had. They dodged and weaved and tried to protect the colony below. But they were so small compared to the Krell warships. It was like insects fighting a bear. The Bekdu was destroyed in the first 10 minutes. 300 crew died instantly when the Krell beam cut through their ship. Jae-sung watched the light fade from his screen and felt part of his soul tear away. "Keep fighting," he ordered his crew. "Give the people time to evacuate." The Taeguk lasted another hour. They managed to damage one of the Krell ships, scoring hits on its engines. But then the other two warships focused on them and there was nowhere left to run. "All hands, abandon ship," Jae-sung ordered. "Get to the escape pods." The Taeguk shuddered as beam after beam struck its hull. Fires broke out on every deck. Jae-sung stayed at his post, steering his dying ship away from the cities below, until his first officer physically dragged him to an escape pod. They launched just as the Taeguk exploded. 47 crew members made it out. 230 did not. Governor Subin worked frantically to evacuate the colony. She opened every transport ship, every cargo hauler, every private vessel. People streamed into the spaceports carrying whatever they could grab. "Get the children out first," she ordered. "Pack them in. We will make room." 400,000 people escaped before the Krell landed their troops. The ships jumped to faster than light speed and ran for safety. But 3.5 million people remained, unable to reach the spaceports in time. The Krell soldiers were merciless. They moved through towns and cities with heavy weapons, destroying everything. Buildings burned. Roads were torn apart. And the people, the Krell, showed them no mercy at all. Minho heard the explosions before he saw anything. His father grabbed him and started running toward their farmhouse. They needed to get his mother and sister. They needed to hide. They were halfway there when the Krell transport flew overhead. It landed in their fields, crushing the crops. Soldiers poured out, each one twice the size of a human, covered in armor and carrying weapons that hummed with power. "Run!" Minho's father shoved him toward the tree line. "Hide in the caves!" "Do not come out." Minho ran. He heard his father shouting, drawing the soldiers away from him. He heard weapons fire. He heard screaming. He ran until his lungs burned, until he reached the small cave he and his friends used to play in. From the cave entrance, hidden by brush, he watched his house burn. He watched the Krell soldiers search the area. He watched for hours, frozen with terror, unable to move or think or even cry. Dr. Boran knew her research station would be destroyed. She worked quickly, gathering all her data into a compressed file. The Krell were attacking every human installation on the planet, and her station would be next. But she had something important. During the battle, she had been scanning the Krell ships with every instrument she had. She had detailed information about their shields, their weapons, their engine signatures. This information could help the human military. She loaded everything into an old deep space probe, the kind used for studying distant stars. It was slow and outdated, but it could jump to faster than light speed. "Go," she whispered, launching it. "Tell them what happened here. Tell them everything." The probe accelerated and vanished just as the Krell missiles hit her station. The building collapsed in fire and dust. The massacre lasted 3 days. When it was over, 3.9 million people were dead. The Krell soldiers left nothing standing. They burned the fields, poisoned the wells, destroyed the hospitals and schools and homes. War Master Thrax stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the burning planet. He was satisfied. The humans would learn their place now. He recorded a message and sent it across all human space. "Submit your outer rim territories or more colonies will burn. You have 1 week to decide." Then the Krell fleet jumped to faster than light speed and vanished. Jae-sung and his 46 surviving crew members hid in the northern forests. They had almost nothing. No ships, limited weapons, barely any supplies. But they were alive. On the 3rd day, they found a boy sitting in a cave. Minho did not speak. He did not cry. He just stared at nothing with empty eyes. Jae-sung knelt beside him. He recognized the look. He had seen it on soldiers who had lost everything. "We will remember," Jae-sung promised quietly. "Everyone who died here we will remember. And the ones who did this will pay." The boy said nothing, but something flickered in his eyes. Not hope, not yet, but something harder. Something that would never fade. Far away, Dr. Bora's probe entered human space and began transmitting its data. The information reached military command within hours. The hunt was about to begin. The great council chamber of Apex Prime Station buzzed with 100 different languages. Beings from across the galaxy filled the massive hall. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with inner light. At the center table sat the human representatives, looking small compared to many of the alien delegates around them. Commander Daewon stood quietly near the back wall. His uniform was simple and gray, marked with symbols that showed he had fought in many battles. Scars crossed his weathered face. He watched the proceedings with tired eyes that missed nothing. Ambassador Jiwoo sat at the human delegation table. She was younger than Daewon, with sharp eyes and quick hands that moved as she spoke. Today she listened more than she talked. Something important was about to happen, and she could feel it in the air. The Krell representative stepped forward. War Master Thrax was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with green scales and yellow eyes that reflected no mercy. His voice boomed across the chamber when he spoke. "The Krell Empire has made its decision," Thrax announced. "The human colonies in the Outer Rim territories occupy worlds that belong to us by right of strength. We will take them. The humans are weak. They are soft primates playing at civilization. They will surrender or they will die." Murmurs rippled through the council. Some species nodded in agreement. Others looked uncomfortable. The humans remained silent. High Counselor Vextra, an insectoid being who led the council, raised one delicate claw. "War Master Thrax, this council does not condone unprovoked aggression. The human colonies were legally established under galactic law." Thrax laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. "Laws are for the weak. We are not weak. We will take what we want." That was when the old human stood up. Ambassador Taehyun was ancient by human standards, perhaps 90 years old. His hair was completely white and he moved slowly, leaning on a cane. But when he spoke, his voice carried clearly through the chamber. "I have heard enough," Taehyun said. "Before you make this terrible mistake, War Master Thrax, you should hear a story." Thrax turned to face the old man. "I do not listen to stories from prey animals." "Then listen to someone else," Taehyun replied. He gestured to the being beside him. A crystalline creature stood easily 4 meters tall. Its body was made of what looked like living glass fractured in thousands of places. Light moved through it in strange patterns. This was Kalseth, a Vryn elder. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the Vryn. Once they had been a mighty empire. Now only a few million of them remained, scattered across protected refugee colonies. "I am Kalseth," the Vryn said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. 60 years ago, my people made the same choice you are about to make, War Master Thrax. We attacked the humans." Thrax snorted. "And you lost because you were weak." "We were not weak," Kalseth replied. "We had 200 warships. We had conquered 15 species before we met the humans. We were strong, War Master. We were powerful. And we were fools." The Vryn elder moved closer to the center of the chamber. Young Mi, a junior human intelligence officer, watched from her station. She had studied the Vryn War in school, but hearing it from a survivor was different. "We struck their homeworld first," Kalseth continued. "Earth. We believed in overwhelming force. We dropped fusion weapons on their cities. We burned their forests. We poisoned their oceans in places. We killed 3 billion humans in the first week of the war." Several delegates gasped. 3 billion was an enormous number. "We thought we had won," Kalseth said. "We sent a message to their surviving governments. We told them to surrender. We waited for their response." "What did they say?" asked a small furry delegate from the back. "Nothing," Kalseth replied. "They said nothing at all. Instead, they came for us." The Vryn elder's body flickered with what might have been remembered pain. "They came with every ship they had. They came with weapons we did not expect. They came with a fury we could not comprehend. But more than that, they came with something we had never encountered before." "What?" Thrax demanded. "Patience," Kalseth said. "Terrible, endless patience. When we destroyed a human fleet, another appeared. When we killed human soldiers, more arrived. We won battles, but they never stopped coming. They tracked our ships across the galaxy. They found our colonies. They dismantled our empire piece by piece." Daewon remembered those years. He had been young then, fighting on a dozen different worlds. He remembered the faces of friends who never came home. "We tried to run," Kalseth continued. "We scattered our fleets. We hid in deep space. We retreated to secret bases in places no civilized species would go. The humans found us. They always found us. Do you understand what I am telling you, War Master? It took them 43 years, but they found every single one of our military installations. They destroyed them all. 43 years? Someone whispered. 43 years, Kalseth confirmed. They hunted us for longer than most species fight wars. They did not forget. They did not forgive. They did not grow tired. They simply kept coming. Jiwoo stood now. The Vryn War ended 32 years ago. We could have destroyed their entire species. We could have taken revenge on their civilians as they did to ours. But we did not. We only destroyed their military. We only pursued those who made the choice to attack us. And when it was over, we gave the surviving Vryn safe territory under our protection. She looked directly at Thrax. But make no mistake, War Master. We will do the same to you if you attack our colonies. We will find you. We will chase you across this galaxy. We will never stop. Not in 10 years. Not in 50 years. Not in 100 years. You may run to the edge of known space, but we will follow. Thrax stared at the human woman. She was small, barely reaching his chest. He laughed again, but this time it sounded less certain. You are bluffing, he said. No species has that kind of determination. Tae-hyun stepped forward again. War Master, I spent 30 years hunting the Vryn. 30 years of my life tracking them, finding them, bringing them to justice. I was not alone. Thousands of humans did the same. We had children who were born during the war and grew up knowing nothing else. Some of them are still alive today. We have very long memories, War Master. Very long. The council chamber was completely silent now. This is your warning, Jiwoo said clearly. Attack our colonies and you will learn what it means to be hunted by humans. We do not want war. We would much rather trade with you, learn from you, live beside you in peace. But if you choose violence, we will respond, and we will not stop until justice is done. Thrax looked around the chamber. Some aliens were nodding. Others looked frightened. The Krell War Master turned and walked out without another word. After he left, Daewon approached Jiwoo. Do you think he listened? She shook her head slowly. No, he is too proud. They will attack. Then we prepare, Daewon said. The warning had been given. Now they could only wait to see if the Krell were wise enough to heed it.